All right, Panther, I said that we were going to talk about how opposing teams are going to try to limit Bub Carrington and how effective he is in transition. So let's take a look at that. Now, in the last clip, we took a look at how good he was shooting the ball off the bounce in transition and how effective drag screens have been for the Panthers in pretty much every game they've played so far. So how are teams going to combat that? Well, one of the things that Jacksonville was able to do, and they only did this on a couple possessions because I think they were in foul trouble. They really just don't have the personnel to do this continuously, but it did work for probably 2 or 3 possessions. Granted, in the context that they were losing this game by a lot pretty much the whole time. So here you see they pick up Bub full court. Now, they don't really press him too much, but what this is doing, it's not allowing him to immediately get downhill and just have this free run like you saw in the last video. So by doing this, and then they're going to set up, they're going to see this kind of this drag pin-up screen. Pitt loves doing these types of things coming out of transition in early action, and they're going to blitz Bub coming right out of it. Now, this is 2 things here why blitzing this. One, it kind of forces him to pick up his dribble. He's unable to string this out, which is going to force these 3 defenders to help a lot longer and the 4 other players to space better. It's going to pretty much force this horizontal pass here where nothing gets going towards the basket, and it turns into a reset. Now, here you see I'll play this all the way out. Not really a negative kickball. Pitt gets the ball back after the first or second media timeout and they set something else up. But the reality is, I think if I see this on tape, I'm looking at this saying, okay, maybe a little soft pressure so he can't get downhill, and we blitz that first drag screen so that he can't string us out, so that he can't find another guy. It's harder to flare off this off of a blitz as opposed to sending 2 to the ball if he can just kind of drag it out. So this hard blitz, hard hedge blitz, I think that that's going to be something we continue to see. Maybe not the whole game, but certainly in spurts. And then you're going to see what a possession looks like when they don't or they kind of miss on the drag screen and how much harder it is, even though he does have a full head of steam. Like, these could have been screens. You've seen kind of this double ball screen that happens early with Hinton and Federico, especially in the previous 3 games. But, Carrington gets fouled here. Good for him, ends up going to the line, I think. But the reality is this is a much harder possession than we saw in the previous videos where the drag screen is effective. If I'm putting on Pitt tape and I'm going against a guy that's probably going to play in the NBA, so he's dynamic and we can't just take him off the table, I'm going to do what I need to do to limit how effective he is. And one of those things, I think, is picking him up more in full court, not really hard, but enough so he can't get downhill. And then the second thing would be really trying to limit the effectiveness of the drag screens and early screens coming out of transition, because Pitt gets a lot of offense from those, particularly when Bub has the ball in his hands. So this is something to take a look at. If I was Florida, I would take a really hard look at doing this. You have more veterans, you have an upperclassman team in a lot of these guard positions, and so they're going to be able to maybe get into him a little bit more. I don't think that's rattled Bub so far. It's not really taken him out of his game. He doesn't really fall for it. He doesn't get sped up or anything like that, but it does turn him more into an isolation shooter versus a guy who's able to get downhill. And even though he's made a ton of his shots, that's probably why he's going to the NBA, it's something where I'm going to live with him making shots more than living with him getting everyone else involved and killing us that way.